So, last we left off, everybody had met up. We were all introduced to each other. You all were inducted into the same group or team, and you all gave yourselves the best name I've ever heard. Um, the five Bs, and assigned yourself an initial, all of you, which is really cool. Um, so, uh, we're gonna pick up maybe a couple days afterwards, maybe two or three, and all of you have received a letter slipped underneath. True. Slipped underneath your doors at the Second Wind Tavern slash Inn, and it is informing you that the time has come for you all to go on your first mission, your first official mission. Um, is there anything that anyone's character wants to do as they are getting ready to go back to headquarters and receive the details of this assignment?
I mean, a couple of squats, couple of sit-ups.
Okay, some physical, getting the blood pumping, a little bit of nerves, worked it out. Anybody else doing anything particular?
Just go on a nice walk, get my legs pumping.
Got it. Cool.
You said it's
Okay.
been like a couple days, right?
Yeah, like two or three.
Okay.
So you've gotten the chance to become accustomed to Adaport for a little bit. I think I gave a different name last time, but this is the name I've decided on, so we're gonna go with this one. And from your time there, you've seen that it's this giant, bustling port town with like dozens and dozens of ships coming in and out every single day. It's massive, pretty much the biggest city on the region of Laki. And you've had the chance to get to know some of the locals, get to see a few of the sites, or perhaps do your own preparation, whatever you need. That being said, do you all leave as a group? Or are you letting it come in one by one? Or are you all going to leave as a group together?
I don't believe in us with teamwork. I feel like we're not there yet, so I think it would be more of a piecemeal type scenario.
Okay. All right. Who leaves? Who decides to leave first? Who decides to leave early? Let's say the letter told you to meet at the headquarters at noon. When do you all get there?
At noon.
I am
At noon?
extremely punctual. I will arrive exactly at noon.
Exactly at noon. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I
So
probably
everyone.
left like the tavern early, and I've just been like doing stuff in town since then.
Okay. Cool. Um. So promptly at noon, you all you don't arrive at the same time. Some of you kind of like walk in at different time, but you all come in into this large anteroom. There's like a long row of desks and people with kind of the same outfit that your boy Liam had on. And there are people lining up for like applications to hire a member of the Shield to accompany them on whatever it is they need to do. Some people need to transport goods further inland and they require a security detail because there's lots of monsters out in the wilds. Some of them are asking for aid as they travel overseas. At the far end, Liam catches your eye and he kind of waves you guys over really fast.
Oi.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Good. You're all on time. Very admirable. I appreciate that. And he looks behind him, and you can tell he's a little bit nervous. You're not really sure why at this point, but he seems a little unsettled. He says, "You guys can go right ahead up that staircase into Captain Gawain's office. Unless you have any questions for me, or
You're doing alright. I'm trying an Irish accent. I'm just letting you know, like, this is gonna be like a roller coaster here.
change it every day if you want. I don't mind."
Tomorrow's gonna be Scottish.
Okay, cool. He says he kind of looks down at his handy dandy journal logbook thing that he seems to always be carrying around, and he says, "Yeah, just just a heavy day. And then he kind of pauses and says, I mean, obviously, with all the intake, things have been getting a little more dangerous recently. We've been flooded with requests. I've never seen anything like it. Anyway, you guys should go on ahead.
All right. Keep it cool.
Yeah, and he, as you guys walk past him into the staircase, you notice that his eyes kind of linger on you as you go up the stairs.
I'm getting
So
heebie-jeebies.
the five of you ascend this long spiral staircase up into this upper floor of headquarters. It's this massive building, and you knock on Captain Gawain's door. This is the man who informed you all last time around that you all were in, and you're meeting up with him again to receive your first assignment. He opens it very hurriedly, and he says, "Oh, good, you're all here. Why don't you come in?"
He look as dark of nature as Liam did. Does he also look like something is going on?
Roll an insight check for me.
Oh boy.
The first official roll. Very exciting.
Let's do it.
Ooh.
16. Nice. Perfect. Okay. So you, Suma, have been around for a lot longer than everybody else in your party. You've been traveling the seas for a bit, and even you are aware that Ela has enjoyed a long period of relative quietness, of relative peace. Monster attacks were down for a while. Pirate attacks were down for a while. Everything seemed to be going pretty well. The shield, in fact, has not had much reason to be around. Sometimes they're more of a formality. They're always useful in a pinch every now and then. But you can tell that Gawain, who has been around for a bit as well, he's maybe around in his late 50s. He's like a salt and pepper hair, broad shoulders. He has very kind eyes, but you can tell that there's a bit of anxiety. It's not quite guilt. It's more like the look of somebody who knows that he doesn't know what's going to happen next. A little unease, but putting on a face, because this is what he's used to doing. He guides you into the room. You all file in behind him, and you notice that there are already 5 chairs like laid out in an arc in front of this large mahogany desk. There's like plaques on the walls and commendations, a big map of the islands with like dotted lines marking all the routes he's traveled and all the cities he's been to and all the places he's seen. And he sits down at his desk and he says, "How have you enjoyed your stay in the city so far?"
It's quite nice. I like this town.
Yeah, good.
Cool. Have you met the tavern keeper?
The tavern at the Second Wind.
Yeah.
Otto, right?
Good.
Yeah, I remember. You know, he was actually in the same inductee class as me. We came in at like roughly the same year. I think it was like even the same week. Yeah, like
So
he
we
kind of
the same team?
no, God no. I mean, no offense to the man. He's a great bartender.
We heard
Gr-
all the trials and tribulations.
Right. I mean, there's some things, right, that some people are better at, and there's some things that people are worse at. And Otto is a great listener. Not much use with the sword, but listening comes in handy as a barkeep. And so I feel like he's found his calling truly. You have all been summoned here today because it has been time for your first official mission. Now, usually with our new recruits, after their adjudication, after they have been judged to be worthy of joining the Shield, we send them on sort of a training mission. We have this fake dungeon set up, and we have the kids come in and clear it out, and at the end there's this big reward and a bunch of veterans clapping at the end, applauding them. But unfortunately, due to recent events, we find ourselves a bit short-staffed, and so that whole business will have to be waived. As you see, times have gotten a bit rough recently, and there's been a bit of an epidemic of new recruits not making it to the next step. So, we don't have many people around, and we are flooded with requests. And I could tell by the looks on all of your faces when you first came in and interviewed for the guild that you all were anxious to get out into the world. So, are you willing to accept the assignment?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it doesn't make a difference if we die today or tomorrow. So
Now, that
Yes.
is the kind of attitude that worries me, but is very applicable in this situation.
I'm worried about my coworker.
All right then, and then he reaches into his drawer and he pulls out a scroll and he kind of unfurls it in front of himself with his eyes really close to it, like his vision is just awful. And he says, "Right, so it seems to be a pretty standard mission. The reward's not very high, around 7 gold pieces for each of you at the end. Not our most lucrative work, but of course not our most dangerous work either. You will be accompanying a merchant ship, captained by the name of Aramis. He kind of has struggles to pronounce the name. Aramis, whatever that name is. And you'll be traveling from Adaport all the way into Palestrom in the Gallen Republic. And he refurls the scroll. Word has it that Captain Aramis has a wind cloak on his ship, so the travel should be relatively fast, and relatively safe. A lot of ships have trouble docking at the port in Palestrom, but this shouldn't be too much of an issue. Seems like a pretty cut and dry mission, no complications whatsoever. Danger levels shockingly low. And yeah, roll for it.
Anyone say shockingly low, I don't trust. Oh no, this man might be
A
honest.
9. Let's see. You get the feeling that the letter of his words is correct.
Okay.
But perhaps there is more to what he's saying than what he's actually saying.
I trust this man wholeheartedly.
Cool. Perfect. All right. And he says, he reaches beneath his desk and he pulls out a small leather bag, and it's like clanking as he does it. And he undoes the drawstring and pulls out from it 5 of those small shield pins. And he places one on his desk, like in front of each of your chairs. And he says, normally there's a whole celebration to go along with the assignment of these shields, but unfortunately things have been a bit tense as of late, and we do have to skip some formalities. But welcome aboard the Shield. I'm sure that you'll do us all proud.
All right.
Thank you. I will pin it to the inside of my belt next to my mask.
Cool. he turns to you. He says, he says, if you show that that shield to any of the dockmasters at the port, they'll be sure to let you in wherever you need to be let in. You are due to meet your clients in 3 hours, so please be as prompt meeting them as you were meeting me. Dismissed. Hmm?
Oh, I just wanted to, since I wasn't expecting us to go out this quickly, I was just wondering, any maritime laws that we have to abide by if we, by chance, encounter a pirate ship? Are we supposed to sort of off them, arrest them? Are there things ours now? What are we working with here?
Deal with them however you would like to deal with them. The only thing that is important is the safety of the ship you're protecting.
All right, Carte Blanche, gotcha. Thank you.
Pretty much. Any other questions before?
Oh,
None from me.
where's the ship?
You'll find it in the 6th dock.
Uh,
Dock number 6. I'm sure you'll be able to see the sign, or someone will guide you. Besides, if you are unable to find it, it's unlikely that the mission will be successful anyway. So it really is a win-win on all sides.
well, you
Cool.
have a good day, sir.
He looks at you and he nods and he says, "I plan to." And then he kind of like scrunches up his eyebrows and he shakes his head. Dismissed.
Sounds like he's going to get drunk.
I was out of character.
What do you guys do in the 3 hours? Do you stick around the headquarters and poke about? Do you go straight to the docks and you wait? Do you want to look around town? What's everyone feeling?
You guys want to do a little shopping before we head out?
I'm broke.
I kind of want to shop.
I'll go straight
All right.
to the ship.
Oh yeah.
You go straight where?
I go straight to the ship. I'm broke.
You go straight to the ship. Okay. All right. Okay. So which of you want to go purchase some supplies?
Me and Ruby.
You and
I'll go
Ruby.
with them. Yeah.
And Suma.
Yeah.
And what about you, Alok?
You're muted, boss.
Oh, you're muted.
I'm going to the ship as well.
Okay. So, we're gonna follow Alok and Gallet first. The two of you walk out of Shield headquarters, and as you pass by all the desks and stuff, you see people standing very patiently in line, and you see the people at the desks kind of looking very like almost apologetic and a little bit frantic. It seems that there are not enough people at this location to service the needs of everyone coming in asking for assistance. You leave the headquarters and you head immediately to the docks, which all of you have been to before because, well, except Alok. You would have traveled here on foot, but Gallet, you would have sailed here probably, or at least you know where the ports are.
Yeah,
You've been a sailor. This is one of the biggest
I
ports
took
in the
walk
entire
today.
region.
I'm fine.
Yeah. You've sussed out the city. You know where everything is. So all of you, the two of you, very easily find dock number 6, and you find a very narrow and long ship that like tapers out a bit at the end, and it is painted pitch black. You see that there isn't much of a crew at the moment. It appears as if they're really taking that call time very seriously. It's like, listen, maybe there's a couple people like below deck or something like that, but everybody else is doing something else, probably in town, probably getting drunk or something, doing whatever they have to do. So the two of you just want to wait there, or is there anything you would like to do around here?
Hey, look, we want to introduce ourselves to the captain.
If he's here, yeah.
I start
Okay.
working on the boat.
Okay. This boat is remarkably unguarded. Um, you walk up across just like little boarding plank. It kind of creaks beneath you a little bit. You can tell that on closer inspection that the ship has seen better days. Um, it looks like it used to be nice once upon a time, but right now it is in a state of slight disrepair. You can see a couple of like scuff marks, like parts of like the railing that people would like lean on as they're like waving out at the people as they're departing, has been like blown off by something. There's like claw marks here and there. You step on, and immediately you feel a strong gust of wind. Like as you step onto the ship, you feel a very strong gust of wind, kind of not like forcefully blow you back, but it seems to come from out of nowhere. Um, and But you don't see anybody. Um,
Hey, Locke, do you see anyone?
No, did you feel that? The wind?
That's just the fourth end of a bad sail. That's
Oh,
nothing. Don't worry about it.
I'll take your word for it. Okay.
I've had some trouble with the high winds.
Should
Let's
we maybe just
go
go
down?
below deck? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like
um,
prepare to show your little sigil.
Yeah.
you okay? So the two of you approach kind of like this set of stairs that leads down below deck, and once again a very strong gust of wind, much more forceful this time, kind of like strikes upon you. It doesn't hurt, but it's definitely very forceful. Not enough that like if you really wanted to walk forward, you couldn't walk forward, but it's more of a deterrent. Um, make make a perception check.
These are bad winds. Perception.
I don't think this is normal. Oh
Ooh,
no.
got it. Okay.
Oh boy.
Okay. The two of you feel like the winds just came from out of nowhere. You're just like it doesn't make
It
sense,
doesn't.
but I feel like it's just blowing. Um, do you guys continue to try to go down, or what do you do at this point?
Hey, Locke, get down, and
Yeah.
I'll get down and I'll start crawling to the.
Okay, you're gonna crawl down the stairs.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna crawl. I'm just gonna walk
Because
normally. Like,
because the wind. I mean, like we got
yeah,
we got.
aerodynamic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
It's
not
like
Okay.
it's
doing
gonna
it.
hit the side of the boat a bit more,
As you do so, you see like the ground kind of in front of you darkens a little bit, and it's unclear what it is at first. And you realize that it is the
Uh-oh.
shadow of a person.
Okay.
Someone has leapt from the top of the crow's nest, that little that like sitting area at the one of on the highest mast of the ship. Um, has jumped directly off that and is coming to a land on the ground. As you Gal, you look up as you're crawling, and you just see like a pair of feet like at the terminal velocity coming down, and suddenly like slow in momentum as like gusts of wind come across the floor and kind of ruffle your hair. Um, Alok, you were standing up and you were able to just watch this happen. You saw somebody leap from the top of the crow's nest and kind of slow themselves as the wind is rushing up to meet them, slowing them down and touching down on the ground very softly. Um, it is an elven woman, of medium height, uh, muscular build. You see that she is wearing this thin cloak that's like it's like green and almost translucent. Like you can see like her skin and her tunic beneath it, and you can see that her skin is covered in green tattoos, so like kind of like very curvy, and they swirl around her skin. And the longer you look, the more you notice that these lines are moving. It's not a static tattoo; it is like it's animate. Um, she walks right in front of you, Gallet, and she kind of crouches down. She says, "Why are you here?"
We're part of the shield of Celestia. We're here
I
to
could
protect
have.
the ship for the 7 gold worth we are.
She blinks very slowly at you and she says, I understand. Your call time is not for 2.5 hours. Is there a reason you've come early?
I was not
And she looks at both of you.
notified. Can I get
Not.
up?
Yeah, go for it. The wind has now fully receded.
Okay.
Drying my eyes. Oh.
She crosses her arms and she looks down at both of you and she says, so the two of you are going to defend this ship.
There's 3 others. They're out shopping right now.
3 others. Wow. Okay. Lots of inspiration coming from that. She says, she looks over at at the door that like leads further down into the deck, and you see her move a hand and like draw it back, and a gust of wind from the other side of the door slams it shut. She turns and she says, the two of you are free to stay above deck until it is time to depart. For now, the bottom quarters and everything else below deck is off limits. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Gotcha, boss.
She's scary.
Wait,
Good.
I apologize, but what's your name?
Ramis?
My name is Valer.
That's-
Let me type it. Let me type that actually.
Wait, who was the Ramis? Is that the name of the ship?
The captain.
Oh, she's not. Okay.
She like walks over to the door, turns around on a swivel, and like sits cross-legged on it, like kind of barring the door with her body, and she says, I will remain here until Captain Aramis comes and we begin the voyage. Until then, make yourselves at home, I suppose, while you're above deck. There's a few fishing rods in a chest. You can maybe try and catch some supplies if you're really anxious to do something. But otherwise, try not to make too much sound.
I'll start fishing.
Alright. I've never fished before. I'll help you, or I'll join in.
Cool.
Well, wait,
Okay.
I just have one thing I'm gonna say to Alok while we're
Yeah.
fishing. I just turn to him. They paid 7 gold for us. What did they expect? I mean, come on.
I don't know. I'm kind of happy with that's a good amount of gold.
Okay. So we're gonna cut over to Ruby, Suma, and Buru. What type of store are you all looking for today? What sort of supplies?
Healer's kit and some potions.
Healer's kit and some potions. Any other requests?
Yeah, I would like to go to a store where I can buy my game set.
Okay.
And
what
then
about you, Ruby?
I'll also accompany to the magic shop.
What about you, Ruby? Anything you're looking for? You're muted, by the way.
I'm planning to stay in the Republic of Gallon afterwards because there's supposed to be like some kind of special jewel there. So just provisions for staying afterwards.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
We're ending up in like the Republic of Gallon, right?
Yes, indeed. Oh, okay. So
yeah,
you want to like spend some time there
Stay.
after you get there
Yeah.
and like have some provisions, like food and like water and such.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Grocery shopping.
Awesome. Okay. The three of you come upon the first store that you come upon as you're kind of browsing. It's a bustling port town, and so there's a lots of small like stalls and stuff just like lining the streets, especially closer to the dock because foreigners coming in, sailors coming back from long voyages, like people stopping by. It's the perfect place to set up a stall and really take advantage of people who are just coming into town and they get distracted by shiny things. Suma, your eye is caught by an old tiefling lady. She's like fanning herself. It's summer at the moment. And it's a bit hot. It's a bit hot. And she's fanning herself, kind of not minding her own business, and she's sitting in this small wooden stall filled with antiques. And you do find kind of in a corner a pie show set amongst other curiosities. There's a vase that looks like a giant mask that like goes all the way around. It's like a gargoyle's face, kind of deformed. You see a strange instrument. It looks kind of like a flute, but the hole is like way too big at the end for anybody to physically blow through. And you also see a small switchblade that is made entirely out of coral.
Wow, they got some cool stuff here. Yeah, I'll walk up to her and I'll just say, "My lady, an item of yours has caught my eye. May I have your ear for a moment?"
She looks up at you, kind of tilts her head, kind of scratches a little bit beneath one of her horns. There's like one that's like this and one that's much longer. They're kind of asymmetrical, and she kind of is like leaning towards the side, where the horn is longer, as if it's like heavier and bending her neck a little bit. And she says, "Darling, which is it that's caught your eye? I do have many, many fashionable curiosities here."
Of course. This pie show set here, it's beautiful. The craftsmanship is excellent.
She says, "Oh, you mean this one?" And she leans over very slowly, as if it is like really wearing out the creaks in her bones. She picks it up very gently, and you see that it is indeed very finely made. It's got a few scuffs in it. It's not pristine, but you can see that it has been made out of ivory, and inlaid with gold. And she says, "It's a curious thing. I just got this today, and already I'm forced to part with it." And she leans over
Then
at
it
you and
must
she
be
says,
fate.
"Perhaps. What do you know of fate?"
Not much, to be fair, for my part, but I do believe in it.
So you don't know much about fate. That's curious.
It would feel
Seems like
presumptuous of me.
presumptuous. Well, I may be presumptuous as well, but it does seem like fate knows little something about you. She lifts up the pie show set and lays it down on her counter. She kind of leans in and examines it, makes sure that she's really giving you a quality product. And she says, "What is your price?"
Well, I don't have much, but would I have like any sense of what something like this would usually cost, like to base my guess on?
Yeah. Something of this level of craftsmanship would probably run you like three gold.
I'll offer her 5.
5. Her eyes immediately light up. Like her eyes have been kind of droopy this entire time, and it's kind of like they widen very quickly. And she says, "Oh, 5 gold, you say?" And she kind of like looks around, and she says, "I have a proposition for you. I will sell this to you for 4 gold, on the condition that one day you come back to this stall and bring me another pie show set you've collected in your travels. And then we'll play a game. How does that sound?"
That sounds like a generous deal to me.
And she goes, "Wonderful." And she hands it over to you. And she takes the gold, and she kind of like, even though there's only 4 of them, she counts them out individually in her palm, and she closes it really fast, and she says, "I hope I see you soon, dear." And then it kind of drops it one by one into this like little drawer that she has full of gold.
All right. I will thank her. I'll wrap it up carefully in my pack, and give a little bow and walk along with my companions.
Perfect. So all of you walk further down the stalls. Mostly they're selling like knickknacks and like souvenirs and antiquities of that kind. There's also a good amount of like produce carts, like places selling fruits and vegetables, fresh from the harvest. Um, Along the ways though, you notice that down a little alleyway, uh, off from this main street is a small shop tucked away in a corner, and it says uh, Melvin's Magical Oddities. Um, and Buru, this catches your eye. You have been looking for potions of some kind, and you break off to enter the store. Do the rest of you follow? Are we all going into the magic store?
Mhm.
Cool. You walk in, and this place is a mess. It's dark and dimly lit. There's like a bunch of candles everywhere, like barely lighting it. There's no windows. Um, and as you open the door, a little tinkling of chimes comes in, and you hear a voice. "Huh? Someone's here." And as you stand there in the doorway, you see an old man with a peg leg and also a cane, kind of scrambles up to the counter. He's pretty old, just an old human, long white beard. He says, "Customers. It took me a second to remember the name for customers. Three of you. Oh, three of you. Haven't had so many people in the store in a very long time. Um, what can I do you for?"
Are you Melvin?
"Yes. How did you know that?"
Intuition, my friend.
"Oh, you are very astute." And he says, he kind of scrambles in his drawers, and then he pulls out, shaking hands, this giant pair of glasses. It's like made out of like whalebone. And he puts it on his face and kind of like adjusting it. And he says, "Oh, that mask on your belt. Are you?" And he points directly at your mask, Buru.
Maybe. I'm looking for a couple of health potions, and maybe a healer's kit.
"Oh, yes. I do. Oh, yes, I do have some." And he kind of like trips over himself a little bit and is like, this place is a mess. There's like stuff everywhere. Like this miscellaneous artifacts. Sometimes when he like bumps into something, it like sparks and starts glowing, and like, it always does that. Um, and he comes back, one hand on his cane, one arm precariously balancing like the box, the healer's kit, that like this toolkit, and like potions just kind of precariously stacked on top of it. It's really a miracle that he doesn't spill anything, but he kind of shoves it all on the table and kind of pushes it out. And he says, "I'm afraid I've only got 3, but I do have the healer's kit for you."
How much do those potions cost?
He kind of rubs like his beard. And he says, "I'll sell you all 3 for 1 gold."
I'll give you 5 gold for all the potions and the healer's kit.
He rubs his beard again. And he says, "Well, you drive a hard bargain, but I like the look of you, Mister." And he looks again at your mask.
Buru, friend.
"Mr. Buru, yes." And he gladly takes your payment. You can tell that he, for some reason or another, he kind of wanted to give it to you for less. You're not really sure if it's because he's just like an old man, old man who's kind of lost it a little bit. But he does hand over the healer's kit, and the 3 potions. And they're like in these they look a bit old. They're like in these just regular glass vials, cork stopper, and it's just like deep red liquid that looks like it's slightly cloudy.
I really enjoy your story, friend. I would like to come back. Have you thought about advertising more? It's hard to find.
Advertising. No. Back in my day, it used to be if you had the best goods, you got the most customers. You didn't need a big fancy sign or a stall in the big market. Besides, I actually had a customer earlier today, so that makes, and he has to count each of you individually, and then on his hands, 4 people today. That's a record this year, 100% a record. What'd you say?
That's quite a few customers.
I know.
Browse your magical gizmos. See, you've got a couple of sparky doodads back.
Oh, of course. He scurries off as you say that you're short on time, eager to please, and he comes back with this. It's like a cylindrical rock, basically, and it has like veins of red running through it, and he says, "Observe," and he flicks it, and it creates a pretty like sizable spark. Every time he does, and he says, "This will last you longer than a million billion matchsticks ever could. Ever lost on a deserted island, and you find out that your matchsticks are soggy and you can't start a fire? It's happened to me. It could happen to you." And then he digs underneath, and it's like, you don't know what it is, but it's this green brackish liquid, and he pours it all over both his hand and this rock with the red veins, and he flicks it, and the fire still starts. He's like, "Even when it's wet, it'll help you start fire. What do you say?"
How much?
And he looks at it like he forgot that he was selling you something. He just wanted to show you something cool that he's been a fan of for a while. And he says, "Well, this one is a bit of a curiosity. So, how about 3 gold?"
2.5 gold.
Fair. And then he kind of sets it down with a lot of enthusiasm, and sparks come out of the bottom, almost catch it would have caught the table completely on fire if he had not already spilled liquid onto it. And he wraps it in this little pouch for you that is fire retardant, and he hands it to you. Takes your payment, and then is that all you wanted to do in the store? Did anybody else want to do something in the store?
I had one thing I wanted to
Yeah.
do. Oh, you can go first.
There you go.
Oh, I'll approach him and I'll take out my warm obsidian shard thingy.
Okay.
And I will ask him, do you do appraisals?
The moment you pull it out, it kind of catches his eye because the fire that he briefly started glints off of it, and he leans in, adjusts his whalebone rimmed glasses, and he says, "Where did you find that?"
Honestly, I just found it lying around. It's a trinket. I don't know where it came from.
He takes it gingerly in his hands, like 2 fingers on each end, and kind of he holds it up. He grabs another one of those spark stones that he just sold you, Buru, and this man is metal as fuck. He does it on the side of his cheek. He just
Oh my god!
and creates like a little bit of fire to view this in, and he says, "Obsidian does not naturally form this way. This has been tempered." And he looks at it again and he says, "If I had to guess, it used to be part of a weapon, but it chipped off or broke off for one reason or another."
Thank you, friend. That's extremely helpful.
And he hands it back to you. He says, "Right. Did any others want to sample my wares? I'm gonna roll today."
Actually, I kind of like your glasses. Or anything else you use to appraise jewels.
My glasses.
Your glasses, yeah.
I forgot I was wearing them. Does that ever happen to you? How many times I've walked around the store, starting small fires left and right, wondering where are my glasses, and it turns out I was wearing them. And he says, but the glasses are not the key to appraising. Appraising comes from the eyes. And unfortunately, I cannot sell you my eyes, for they're very expensive and you don't look like you've got the dough. Come back with a lot more gold, I'll sell you my eyes.
Really?
Oh,
I wouldn't underestimate how much gold I have.
I have already got a peg leg. An eye patch would suit me just fine.
I think I probably could buy it if I wanted to, but I don't really want to buy an eyeball. Do you have like a jeweler's kit? Like,
Sure. He reaches down beneath his desk and he kind of like grumbles around as he's throwing stuff out. There's like an actual rabbit's foot flies off. Like a live rat just smacks against the wall and then scurries away. And he there it is. And he pulls out this it's like made of wood, but there's like a panel of glass in it, and there's all the stuff that you might need to maybe chip away at a rock containing a jewel or to shine a jewel. It's all that good stuff. And he slides it over to you, and he says, "You know, I used to be a fan of jewelry myself, but it turns out that it makes you a big target for robbery. And being robbed is not fun, because the last time I was robbed, this was in Tirai. The last time I was robbed, they took all me gold and me foot. It was a sad time, is what I'm saying." Yes. And he leans back, and with dexterity that he should not have with his old age, he swings the leg that has his peg leg onto the table, and he says, "Look at it! It's gone!" Anyway, all this to say, you can have this for 4 gold. And he taps his peg leg on the case, like nudges it towards you with his peg leg.
That's seems a little steep for that. How about
but my
2
eye
gold?
wasn't too steep for you.
No.
How about 3?
How about 2, and I bring you back the first thing I find with the jeweler's kit?
Make a persuasion check. 18. Okay. He goes, "You do look like you might be finding some rare jewels soon. And it's unlikely I'll be robbed in the future, given that I rarely leave this store on account of the peg leg and also the cane and also my bad back. So it's a deal." He hands you the jeweler's kit, but he outstretches his hand to you with these like long spindly fingers, but you have to shake on it.
You got me. Okay, fine.
All right. You shake his hand, and he is uncomfortably cold. There's no reason his hand should be that cold, but they're very cold. And then, but he wraps it up for you, very nice. Hand it to you, and then kind of chuckles to himself as he goes into the back of his store to know God knows what with his time. Does everybody feel like they've gotten what they came for, or do you still want supplies, right?
I mean, we don't have to make a big thing of it. I could just grab some oranges or whatever.
Okay.
On the way out.
I'll say for 1 gold piece, you acquire a decent amount of supplies that will likely last you at least long enough to get your bearings. Once you arrive in the gallery, you are coming to another city, so you would also be able to like purchase supplies there.
Mhm.
But I will say that you have a little bit of extra food to spread around or to keep to yourself on this voyage. Cool. I'll say that shopping trip probably ran you the amount of time. It's maybe like 40 minutes until the ship is slated to leave. Are you guys gonna head back now, or
Yeah,
you all
once
good?
I'm done shopping, I think I'm good to head to the ship.
Cool. Alok and Gallet, roll me a nature check. 17. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did me and Alok got it.
And
Now both of you roll me a strength check with advantage. Okay. Wow. 17 and 18 on both rolls. That's crazy. So you two are like in the back part of the ship. And like you both like hurl these fishing rods as far as they'll go into the ocean. And you don't always get fish like really, really close to the water. It's not a super like common phenomenon. However, you both feel a bite, like almost simultaneously. And you look at each other, and the fish starts like yanking at the end of your pole. But I think both of you running with the adrenaline of like, yeah, it's our first mission. Weird lady just kind of yelled at us. I don't know why. What's her deal? You both like yank the fish back, and out from the water, two identical fish, with like red scales and golden eyes come up out of the water, flapping all the while, and you're able to successfully reel these fish back, and are they have it to eat now. I think with both of your nature checks, you are able to like properly prepare the fish. Oh, actually, do you guys want to eat the fish? Like prepare it for cooking, or just want to release it?
No, I'm gonna eat it, but just a question. Do I happen to know what kind of fish this is?
Um, with an 18 in nature, you would know what kind of fish this is. You've been aboard ships before, and you were aware that, especially in Adaport, you would have heard stories that like like the sailors like often would fish while docked because they are aware that every now and again in the mid afternoon, flocks of these red scaled fish they just call them redfish. They're
Green fish.
sailors are not the most imaginative people ever. They're like, hey, it's a redfish. Yeah, it's a redfish. At least the sailors that you've been around have just called it that. And you were aware that they are highly nutritious. Hard to catch though. They're very strong. Yeah, that was going to be like a DC 14 strength check just to pull these fish in, but you guys like overshot it by quite a bit. And because of the density of their muscles, when you cook them, they are very nutritious for the both of you.
All right, Alok, you want to like cook this up and serve it for everyone? You know?
I suppose so. I didn't really think we were gonna catch anything.
No, it's
So
a good dinner.
surprised. Yeah. First, I'm gonna write this down in my journal. Start writing stuff down. Kind of drawing it too. But yeah, we can prepare it.
Cool. Okay. The both of you, you hear a set of loud footsteps banging up this plank. And as you turn around, you see a tall and slender red-skinned tiefling with a trifold hat, like classic pirate's hat. Like this person really, really wanted a pirate hat, and they got it. and it's like this long dark blue coat. It's kind of open at the chest, and you see that the chest is like red, but it's like scarred over a couple of times. Like tattoos covering their entire body. And you see that this tiefling takes off his hat, and he goes, "Valera, I am home." And you hear the elf you met before. He goes, "Welcome back, Captain." Not pleased, and he he looks like he's a little bit drunk. He kind of swaggers on board and looks around, and he spots you two. And he kind of shambles over, and he leans over and goes, "Fishing. You two have been fishing. I love that. I love that. Did you caught fish?"
Yeah, we got some good ones.
Let me see. And he takes a look at the redfish, and he kind of does this with his fingers. He's like, 2 inches above average length. Not bad. Um, and he looks at both of you. Where have you guys pinned your shields, by the way? Just like on your like visible, or
It's just on the chest, left.
you're muted.
Sorry, mine's on my journal on my side. On my head.
And you currently have it out, right?
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay. And he kind of looks at both and he goes, "I see that you have arrived a bit early. I admire that." And he says, "I should introduce myself. I am Captain Aramis." And he takes a bow in front of you guys. And this is my ship. It is called, and you can tell he's like racking his brain because you get the sense that he kind of like changes the name of the ship pretty often because he can't commit. He says it is called the Slim Reaper. Not bad, because it's very narrow and it's all black. He turns to you, Alok, and are you still currently like writing and drawing, or have you stopped that
probably.
activity?
I'm probably been writing down the name of the ship and everything that he says. Yeah.
Okay. Make a dexterity saving throw with disadvantage.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Shit.
Holy
Oh.
shit!
Alok saw
Oh my god! Okay.
My journal.
You're even though you're like writing, you're like you kind of have your journal in front of you and you're writing in it, but you're so focused that when his hand reaches over your journal to grab at the chain around your neck, because he spots it peeking out a little bit, and his eye is drawn to it. You were able to like drop your pen and immediately like stop his hand. And he said, and he kind of goes, he's very surprised. He's surprised that you were fast enough to do that. And he goes, "You don't want me to see? You look like you have some nice hardware, you know?"
Yeah, I'd rather not, though. That is mine. A little.
Feels like sexual harassment.
I like to keep to myself. I'm sorry.
And he pries his hand away, kind of rubs his wrist a little bit. "Understood." And you see that his left eye, it's like one of his eyes is like also red to match his skin, but the other eye is golden right now. And as he backs away, the gold kind of recedes back to red. Cool. At this point, the rest of you have now arrived at the ship, and you were climbing on board. Alok and Gallet, you see your partners coming in onto the plank. As they do, more and more of the ship's crew has now returned back onto the ship. You see people like hustling and bustling, going to like their stations, like working the sails and all that. What is it? Do you guys say anything to each other as you come across, or what's going on? What's everyone doing as the ship gets ready to depart?
Got the fish.
Catch.
Fishing.
It's a redfish.
Well,
Lance?
nice.
It's pretty good. We're going to make it for supper if anyone would have any.
Thank you.
How about you guys? How was the shopping?
Found a really neat guy in a little back alley shop. Can't see well, and he's only has one leg, but he's neat. I like him.
That sounds rather nice. I bet he charges high prices, and he doesn't settle for less. If you offered more, he would not accept it. That is, I think,
Yep.
he sounds like he drives a hard bargain. Losing your leg
He is.
makes you do that.
Crafty.
Meet him one day, hopefully.
As you guys kind of congregate on this one part of the ship, the captain kind of walks up to the five of you, and he kind of clasps his hands together, and he says, "Welcome, all of you. I really appreciate you coming to our aid. Tell me, how long have you all been adventuring together, going on missions and all that?"
This is
You
the
know-
first.
And he looks back at his first mate, Valere, and she kind of like rolls her eyes and like shrugs. And he's like, "Well, there is such a thing as beginner's luck, and I believe in that.
Great
Let's
to
hope
have
that
you.
that is a thing that exists." And he takes off his hat and he goes, "Have you been apprised of your mission? Very simple. We are going from point A to point B. If any untoward people, say wearing eye patches and flying a black flag, happen to try and board, it would be incumbent upon you to defend the ship. But you all seem very strong and experienced, so I'm not worried. There's only a few rules on the ship that I need to tell you about. Number one," and you see that he has been mostly jovial this entire time, but his face kind of drops. "Whatever I say is final. I make the calls. I make the calls in navigation. I make the calls whenever we are under attack. You are under my employ for the time being that you are here, and you will follow my orders. That's what a captain does. He gives orders, and what people on the ship who are not the captain do is they follow them. Understood?"
Yes, Captain.
Perfect.
Yeah, Captain.
Number two, and as he says this, he kind of takes you down for the first time below deck, and Valere, who has not moved since the two of you watch her sit down, kind of like a little burst of gust beneath her, like gets her up onto her feet, and she stands aside as Captain Adamis opens the door. He guides you into this hallway and opens a door, in which is kind of like an empty, like it looks like it could have been a storeroom of some kind, and there are 5 ratty hammocks in it. He says, "Number two, there is limited space in the ship. It's a very small ship. As you can see, it is built for speed, not exactly for luxury. I would ask, no, I order that the 5 of you will keep your exploration of the ship confined to this room which has been assigned to you for you to sleep in, and nowhere else. Understood?"
Oh, all right.
Not even above deck?
Oh, I mean, yes, above deck. I mean, below deck. You can't go anywhere other than this room. Especially
The public spaces
not-
such as a galley or anywhere where the crew congregates.
That's fine. Yes, that is also fine. You see, he's very flustered.
Just making sure. You
he
were so
seems obnoxious.
serious earlier.
Yeah.
He seems to be. he seems to be like it seems like he hasn't been doing this particular thing for very long, or at
Mhm.
least something's got this guy a little bit rattled. He's not in his element. He's not on his game. And he says, "Okay, let me start over." And he pulls you guys out of this room, and he takes you down down below deck and gestures at this. It's like a double set of doors, and you can see that it is locked, like wrapped in chains and stuff, making sure that it stays shut. If you ever see a door that is locked such as this, it is holding very precious cargo, which is essential to my business. And were you to interfere with any of my goods, it would compromise them and thus render my profits obsolete, thus rendering your payment gone. So, if we can all agree not to mess around in places we should not be messing around, we should be fine.
Captain
Thank you for the
Aramis.
clarification, Captain.
Captain Aramis.
Yes.
So we are supposed to protect this vessel, the inhabitants, and the cargo. If we happen to hear something rummaging in a locked room, should we just ignore it then?
Nothing will be rummaging. There will be no rummaging. There will never be any rummaging on this ship. It is ludicrous that you would even suggest that, first of all. There will be no sort of strange sounds or noises coming from anywhere on the ship at any time. Everyone make a perception check for me really fast.
Mm,
I didn't even say anything about that. What? Bad smells? What?
Ooh.
you guys took all the good rolls.
Yeah, you used them up. Getting fish.
Man, having a -1
Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay. Ruby, Gallet, and Buru. You, as Aramis feeling something about there will be no rummaging or strange noises here. You immediately hear a strange noise and some rummaging. You turn in the direction that this is coming from, and you notice it's not coming from the door that is locked. It is coming from kind of a side hallway. Actually, let me roll for Aramis. He notices it as well, and his head snaps off in that direction. He raises a finger and he goes, "That was probably just the sea." That being said, I will go and make sure that the sea isn't up to anything. And he goes down the hallway.
The sea does scheme. He is right.
Do you follow him,
Captain
or do
said
you just
not
let
to
him handle his
north.
business? Yeah, you all follow him.
I'm heading back up.
You're heading back up.
Yeah.
Cool. So you leave him be, but everybody else follows him. Did I get everybody?
I don't think I want to follow this.
Follow him, but I want to like stay where I am and wait to see if he like comes back.
Sure. So those of you who actually follow him, you kind of like keep a distance behind him as he's like kind of like looking around for the sound of his noise. And you see him every now and then, he'll get to a door and then like pause, grab the doorknob and go, "Ah!" and then close it. Nothing in there. And eventually, at the very end of the hall, he does the same thing, open the door, ha! And then he kind of like jumps back and he goes, "Oh, how did you get in here?" And you hear a voice from within the door that he just pulled, and he goes, "How about we do not make any sudden movements? I'm only trying to book passage." And Captain Aramis is like, "This is not a passenger ship." And you are like watching, you are seeing him like gesture to this person behind this door. Do you like come in to get closer, or do you just stay where you are?
Is it just me, or does that sound like the barkeep? Is that just
I'll stay back.
You'll stay back.
I'll join the rest of the group, but not get closer to the captain.
Okay, cool. Um, he walks into the room and he slams the door behind him. You can hear like muffled arguing, and then at some point the sounds just stop, and then the door opens again, and the captain has like a man slung over
Oh
his
my god.
shoulder. He's like walking, and he finally catches it back up to you guys in the hallway, and he says, "We had an intruder. This is not normal. It doesn't typically happen on I run a
Course
very
not.
tight ship. This is not
Mhm.
something, yeah, we happened to leave the deck open. A stowaway must have gotten on somehow. I don't understand how. Valer has eyes like a hawk. She would have seen. But I need you to throw this man into the brig." And this man is like not injured. He just seems to be sleeping very peacefully. And who's gonna take this man? Who's gonna carry this person?
I can
Good
carry
worm.
him.
Yeah, it's not me.
You, Ruby? Okay. Make a strength check for me.
Okay. Mm,
Okay, perfect. So you like
pretty good rolls.
Aramis tosses him to you, and you just like "Ah!" and like arms straight out, just like walk this man over to a direction he's indicating. He runs ahead of you, opens up this dank cellar, and there are like tall wooden posts with like manacles like cuffed to them to kind of secure anybody who might need securing. And you set him down very gently, not trying to harm him or anything. Um, and Aramis takes the cuff and manacles this man to this post. And he kind of like shakes his head and says, we'll decide what to do with him later." And then he leaves. Buru, you're still above deck.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Somebody else was above deck, right? No?
Nope.
Okay, cool.
Gallet. Right?
Oh, I was just staying in the place that he told us to wait. Like I was
Oh.
just listening to orders.
Okay, perfect. Buru, you are above deck, and you watch as this woman who you have not had the chance to make the acquaintance of. She stands like at the far back of the ship, and you see her begin to do a kind of dance. And as she does, with each like rhythmic push, like a huge gust of wind blows against the sails, and against the faces and the hair of everybody standing on deck, and the ship begins to move. You've been on ships in your time, but this is perhaps like the fastest you've seen a ship move. Uh, and now we are in motion. After the incident with the stowaway, um, Aramis locks up the brig as well. Every now and then, he'll have someone like bring food over there because I guess he doesn't want to kill this man by starving him to death. What do you all do on the ship? You all have kind of a shared quarters. If you need to eat, they do have like some rations stored away in this little like they have a little lunch hall on board. What do we want to do on the ship?
I want to talk to Varys.
Wait, to who? To the first mate?
Varys? Is that her?
Valer.
Yes.
Valer is her name.
Oh, Alaire.
Yes. Okay. Um. You see that she spends most of her time at the back of the ship, driving the winds to make it go faster. But you happen to catch her as she's like taking a break, or kind of as the ship is already like going like at a decent speed. The natural winds are already carrying it forward a decent amount. And she's just sitting on the railing, and she looks up at you as you approach her. What do you say?
Hey, how do you do that?
She crosses her arms and she leans forward. She says, "You have never met a Windcloak before."
No. See, when I heard wind cloak, I thought it was like a cloak.
Yes. So
I
I
don't
don't know. I don't know if you heard this bit of description from when Gallet and Alok first met her, but she is wearing this like translucent cloak that is like tinged a bit of green.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Someone's
and
got to wear it. Okay.
yeah. And she says, "Yes, I resent the name personally, but it is given to us when we finally." And she kind of starts over and she says, "You really don't know anything about Windcloaks."
No, I'm what you'd call sheltered. I lived under a rock for most of my life.
And you see she nods and she's like, "Ah, okay. You didn't say Palea, but it sounded. I get where you're coming from." And she says, "Well, um, is anybody else joining Ruby here, or are you all just doing your own thing?"
Probably been watching the Windbender like the entire trip.
Okay, so you're around. You're around as well, Buru. Anybody else around?
I guess I'd be watching too.
Cool. Gallet, make a history check with advantage.
Neato.
Okay, a 17.
Nice.
Because you have been on the seas for a bit, you've been around a lot of sailors, and you've been on a good, you've been on ships before in your time, and you've heard of Windcloaks. They're pretty rare. There's not a whole lot of them because it's kind of a rare genetic phenomenon that happens on people in the Galan Republic. It's more predisposed towards elves, but some human Windcloaks have been born before. They are essentially people who are considered to be blessed with the power to move the wind to various different degrees. And because of this, they have been found to be very useful in sea travel in general, but especially in navies. The ability to quickly reposition a ship or to dodge out of the way of like an artillery with like a huge burst of speed has proven very, very useful in naval warfare in the past. But there hasn't been much naval warfare recently. It's been a time of relative peace. So you do see them around sometimes, but because they're so rare, it's like this is maybe the first time you've seen one in person. And Valere, she kind of like she uncovers her arm and she shows you, Ruby, the tattoos on her arm. They're like swirling around and like moving very slowly. And she says, "We Windcloaks are blessed by the providence of the wind, and well, it's sort of something that we are aware of when we're born, but once we have been identified by our village chieftains, by our priests and priestesses of the wind god, we are trained in the art of manipulating it even further." And you see she does like a flowing dance and another, but it looks like it's about to come strong, but she stops a little bit in front of you and like she kind of just ruffles your red hair a little bit in the breeze. And she sits back on the railing and she says, "The captain and I met a long time back. He did me a favor, so I've been helping his ship out ever since."
Must have been a big favor.
You have no idea. I owe that man my life. He's a little, scatterbrained at times, but he wants the best for his crew.
It's good to know. Is the green cloak just for show, or is it necessary to do what you do?
It helps. It's kind of like it's more of a ceremonial thing, really. It's more symbolic of a certain thing, but also I find that it enhances my abilities to some extent.
Could someone who's not born with that genetic, well, I guess I don't know that. Could someone who's like me learn how to do that?
It's very rare. But there has been record of people learning how to bend the wind without having been born with the ability. It is often not to the same extent that those born with it are able to, but it is not unheard of, though exceedingly rare. Anyway, um, she kind of like stands up right quickly. You can tell that she's not super fond of talking to people in general, and there's like three of you kind of around her, like watching her and like talking, and she gets a little bit like, right, well, um, I think the captain's calling me, and she she walks off like across the other side of the ship. Alok and Sumo, what are you two up to? It is night has fallen at this point.
We be trying to get to know the crew a little bit, just to like see who what other characters are on the ship.
Sure. You strike up a conversation. There's a couple of sailors like kind of in the mess hall, um, uh, mucking about. There is a burly Minotaur sailor having an arm wrestling match with a much smaller dwarven sailor, and they're in a dead standstill. They're like in a deadlock. Nobody's budging an inch, and this halfling on the chair kind of has like her hand on her cheek. It's like they've been like this for like the past 40 minutes. Like I think it's like a weird pride thing they've got going on. Like none of them want to admit that maybe the other person's as strong or stronger. It happens like every other day. Like downtime is really a curse. How are you, by the way? You're the shieldy person.
Oh yes, and I'll just like touch the shield which I've attached like as kind of a brooch. Oh yes, it's shiny and new. I haven't had it for very long, so I couldn't tell you what it's like. But if you ever, you know, ever tire of arm wrestling life, perhaps you would look into it.
Hmm. Yeah, not really our style. It's a little bit
No,
too, I don't know, conventional.
is it really?
Yeah, I
How
mean,
so?
and she kind of looks at the Minotaur and the dwarf, and they both look at her, and they just shrug and like turn back to their fight. She goes, let's just say that with my life experience and history, that it would be unlikely that I would pass the level of scrutiny that they utilize in their entrance exams.
I'm trying to figure out like me if she means like she wouldn't pass their background check. Well, like yeah, I don't know.
You can roll insight. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can roll insight.
I guess I'm inciting for something like that. Yeah, because it was easy for us to get in, so.
Ooh.
Oh, but I don't know shit.
Okay. Yeah, you can you can kind of just take her words at face value, or at least you don't glean any further motives out of her. Eventually you see that she gets tired. I think as a way of like kind of exiting out of that topic, she takes both hands, places it randomly on one of their the Minotaur and the dwarf's hands, like on the Minotaur's hand, and just helps him slam the other person's hand down. Alok, what are you up to?
He's probably just walking around the ship in awe, like, actually looking at the sails and everything. New
Cool.
experience, yeah.
All right. Yeah,
I was I do want to get something Gallet would want to try to find Alok. And
Mhm.
basically, hey, so Alok, about cooking some of the food for the crew, maybe. Uh, you want to go try to find the chef because I'm raring to go.
I don't know how to do it myself. Yeah, we probably should get someone to
Yeah,
help.
yeah, over to the chef. Yeah, let's go to the. Can we find the
Okay.
chef?
Sure. You go down. The two of you go down into the mess hall. Do the other two of you want to go down below deck as well, or are you just gonna stay up there?
I'm probably just gonna look at Volar and just try to copy what she does, even though it doesn't do anything.
Okay. The more you do that, like every time she catches you doing that, she kind of like moves to a different spot and then keeps doing the same thing. Like every time you do it, she's like kind of like walks around a corner. Like, oh, please let me do my job. Um.
Damn it.
So, and Buru, you are staying above deck as well.
Just keep a distance from Blair and watching.
Okay, cool. So Alok and Gallet, you two come into the mess hall, and pretty much at the same time as Sumo was just finishing his conversation with the halfling, and you see that the Minotaur man and the Dwarven man are like at the table arguing, like, no, that's not fair. You got help, and the other guy's like, I didn't need help. I was going easy on you the entire time. Look at her. She's like 60 pounds. She's like 2 feet tall. Like, how much additional force could you have possibly used to help me win? And you come upon the site, and you see that there is a little window, and you see like a very rotund man, kind of like human, just leaning against the counter, just watching this take place, kind of like same shit, different day. Um, and the fluffy white hat atop his head immediately marks him as the chef.
Oh yeah, good sir. We got some red fish to help feed the crew. If you'd help us cook it, and maybe we can help.
And he kind of like looks up. He can't see the stars, but I think he's trying to get it. You get the sense he's trying to get a sense of like what time it is, and he's like, "Mm, "Yeah, all right." Um, come into the back, and he opens the door for you to both walk in. And he grabs like this giant cleaver, that's like, just like wedged onto the wooden counter, takes it out, and says, "All right, let's see it."
All right. I produce the fish.
Produce the fish. You
Hands to lift it up.
you both like show him the fish, and he takes it, and he has big meaty hands, but they're surprisingly like gentle as they like take the fish from you. And he like twirls this giant meat cleaver in his hands with great dexterity, and he immediately like very quickly makes work of like scaling it and like removing the head and getting it prepared. And as he does, he's kind of like explaining his process to you in a very grumpy way, like, yeah, and then you do this thing and you chop the head off. Really simple. Um, but you find that like it's actually pretty good advice. And you reckon that you could make a reasonable attempt at skinning maybe just this particular kind of fish, or maybe fish with like similar anatomy, and do the same in the future. Um, he, yeah, sorry.
While he does that, I would after he's done explaining. So Master Chef, I was thinking that maybe just with the fish, be a good complimentary dish with it. If you happen to have any on this ship, we just hit port with some beans. Some beans, yeah, some very good beans.
Okay,
All right.
it's an idea.
If possible, I would like to help with that, and I would help serve it too. I just feel like fish and beans right now would make the whole crew a lot happier.
Roll a persuasion check with advantage.
Come on, come on, come on. This is big. Okay. Okay.
Is it?
Yeah, no, this is
Okay,
important.
Jesus.
I got a plan.
Okay, and he's like, I feel like I've been underestimating beans my entire life. And you're right.
It's the meat of the fruit.
Right, exactly. I never thought about it that way. You know, I remember Captain bought a whole bunch at port while we were docked because somebody was just selling it for really cheap, and he's like, "Listen, we got to eat something. I hate beans, but like we may as well save money on the trip. We're not gonna get paid for a while. Blah 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 blah." But now that you just put it like that, it's like I have a renewed passion for beans.
All right.
And he immediately he kind of rolls this barrel over and he opens it and it's just full to the brim with beans.
That's a lot of beans.
And then he goes to the back, and you know he brings out like all the food that they have, like a big like today's catch of fish that they had before they came in, a few like cuts of lamb as well, and he says, "Listen, my belief has always been that the first night of a voyage should have the best feast. It really sets the tone for the entire thing. So, let's get cooking."
Yeah. And,
Alok, are you gonna help with the cooking, or is it just Gallet here?
I'll watch. I wouldn't be able to help.
Okay,
and
I'll like grab utensils if he needs it, but that's about it.
got it.
And Chef, I would love if I could help serve it once we're done. Make sure I can get the refills for everyone. I want to be as helpful as possible on this ship.
All right, be my guest.
All right.
So you help him cook up a storm, and this man he's big, but he's moving. He's like lightning quick. He's like dashing around the counter, like his hands are just like a blur, chopping up fish and like cooking them really fast. When everything, he's like playing like Diner Dash, like really fast. And you are helping him out. You're getting in the groove. Eventually, the bell, this like loud bell, goes off in the ship, signaling that it's now time for everyone to come in and eat dinner.
Perfect.
So everyone leaves their stations except for Valere, who remains. Wait, why?
Oh, okay.
I mean,
yeah.
don't tell me.
No,
Don't tell me.
okay. Yeah, I'll serve everyone, but after I'm done, I will bring to Valere a plate of fish, but mostly beans, because
Got it.
my plan is I just
You're
have to
gassy.
see what a wind cloak does if they fart. I have to see
Okay.
if it's explosive.
I mean, I could tell you, but I think it would be more
No,
fun to
I
watch you
gotta, I
find
gotta
out.
find out. I gotta find out. I'll keep after I feed everyone. Go to her and keep an eye on her while trying to stay out of the way.
Okay. So, at dinner, everyone's there. You know, it's this loud mess hall of sailors like cursing at each other, and they've like designated this small like round table for the five of you all to sit at. Valere is noticeably absent. You don't really know where she is at the moment. But what besides Gallup, what is everybody doing at dinner?
Eating.
Just eating. Okay.
Eavesdropping, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Um,
listening to the chatter.
okay. Alok, this is perhaps some of the best food you've ever tasted. You've had beans before, but this is like next level beans. This is advanced beans. Um, this has been prepared with a level of love and passion that perhaps have never been applied to a food such as beans before, perhaps in history. And you feel like, wow. I mean, it's okay, but like I can feel the love that was put into this. Um, Suma, roll a perception check for me.
Alrighty.
19. Okay. So, you finish your food pretty quickly, but you leave kind of some on your plate even after you've already eaten, and you also feel like it's a pretty good meal. Um, and you kind of like lean your ear towards like one of the long tables with these sailors like laughing and drinking and cursing. And at the very end, you see the two people, and it is that halfling from before and the Minotaur from before, who are like kind of like at the end, not participating in this loud discussion. Um, uh, and they're kind of talking amongst themselves privately. And with that 19, you do hear what they're whispering about. The halfling goes, I don't get it. You know, like I don't understand why they'd be paying so much. Like I don't get it. The Minotaur says, I'm really not gonna question it. I mean, people want what they want, right? Like, it's not our job to pick the jobs. It's not our job to pick what we transport. We haul, we sail, we get our take, and we leave it be. You're too curious for your own good. Um, and she says, "I'm not too curious. It's just," and she looks around, but she doesn't, because you're like listening, like without looking like you're listening.
I'm
kinda
like
in your-
pushing my beans around on my plate in like a shape or something.
Yeah, yeah. She kind of she cranes her head really quick. And she goes, "Look, it's a lot of gold. There has to be something more going on, right? Like, am I crazy? You can tell me if I'm crazy." And the mentor's just like, "Nah, you're crazy. Look, this is the biggest payday we've ever had, at least in a long time. I mean, times have been tough. I'm not gonna question it. You're gonna jinx it." And she's like, "There's no such thing as jinxes." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is." He says, "Fine. Well, I'm gonna take a look." Um, and you see that she pushes her plate away from the table, and she hops off of it and walks out of the mess hall. Um,
Green.
Ruby and Buru, what are y'all doing at dinner?
Eating quickly so I can get back up and see what Valeria is doing.
Cool. Ruby, what are you up to?
I just find a spot. I probably was the last one to come in because I was like very fixated on what Laura was doing. So I just find a seat wherever there is one.
Okay. Okay. The table where everybody else in your party is pretty noticeably like there's a spot open because Gallet has not really been sitting down. He's just been serving everybody else. So you take one of the two empty spots. Gallet. So you have been very dutifully serving everybody in this mess hall, and everybody kind of regards you like, "Yeah, this guy's got spunk. He's got energy, and these beans are fucking delicious." Um, Eventually, everyone seems to have been served, and you got your plate, and you walk out of the mess hall and ascend the steps up to the deck. Um, Make a perception check for me.
Oh, okay, this is gonna be good. Oh,
19.
natural 20.
Okay. Oh shit. So with that, you immediately look up and you see that Valere is in the crow's nest. She's kind of got her just like leaning on like the railing of it, and every now and then she does this and like keeps the ship moving a little bit faster, but not exerting like a huge amount of effort. She finds that when people are eating, it's best to not go at super fast speed, because if you hit a choppy wave, everyone's food's gonna go everywhere. She's keeping the ship moving very smoothly right now, and given your time, you spend a lot of time on ships, um, so you are able to kind of cross over to kind of right below where she is, and what do? She sees you. She looks down and she goes, "Can a girl just get some peace and quiet? I mean, that dwarf girl was like following me around earlier. People have been interrogating me. Like, aren't you all supposed to be at dinner?"
I apologize, Valera. I was just serving food, and I would just be so remiss if the cook's inspiration wasn't eaten by everyone. He wanted you to eat this plate specifically. He's been inspired recently to make better foods, and you need your protein. For him. Can you just eat
I
this?
guess I'm hungry. Um, she leaps off of the crow's nest, grabs hold of a rope, and kind of like takes it gently down to meet you. And she takes the plate in her hand and she says, "Thank you. Perhaps you won't be as useless as I thought you would be." Um, Grabs the fork, starts eating it, like right in front of you too. Like she just digs in. She's like, "This is his best work. in a very long time. She eats up all the beans, and
Do you want me to get you seconds?
no, that will not be necessary. And with that nat 20 perception check, I just want to say that you smell a little bit of a fart because that's what beans do to all of us.
Yeah.
But immediately, a strong wind dissipates it so that you can't smell it anymore.
Okay, so that's how it works. All right.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
if you can choose not to have your fart linger, you would.
I had to know. I had to. Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay.
Yeah, it's like briefly you're like I smell beans, and now you're like I smell the salty spray of the sea.
Yeah. All right, I'll take Valaire's plate. Thank you.
Cool.
And I'm a little bit disappointed though on the inside, just a little bit. Was
just a little bit.
hoping to see forward momentum.
Okay. You after she takes her plate, just like she's not done eating yet, but she's like, all right, I'm gonna go back to my spot. She she ascends back to the crow's nest, and you head back downstairs. Buru, you were also looking to finish up early and leave the mess hall, correct?
Mhm.
As you are leaving, make a perception check for me. Five. Okay, so you are pretty much like dead set on going above deck, and as you do, you run into Gallet, who's like coming down at the same time that you were coming up.
Hey there.
I wouldn't have been there for his plan. Never mind.
Did you have a good meal?
It was mighty nice. Beans were good.
That's good. I'm happy about that, man. I learned a lot today. But tell me, well, no one's here. Aramis is weird, right?
Totally. I think he's
I can't hear all your words that you're saying.
Yeah, sorry,
Totally.
I missed out the last part of that.
I think he's a pirate. I think he's smuggling something that doesn't want the Celestial Shield to know about. That's why we're not allowed to search the ship.
Would either of us happen to know what's illegal to smuggle? Or is it just a general, like, no drugs, no special magical items, maybe?
Yeah, probably like extremely dangerous magical items, certain kinds of drugs. Like I would say the drug trade is probably
The biggest thing.
trying to be regulated. You'd probably need like certain permits to transfer like alcohol, people. That would be
Yeah,
not
it's
something
a
that you
big
can't.
no-no.
Or like monsters or other magical creatures, like ancient artifacts, like things that generally like people that a government would want to regulate the transfer of.
Okay. Should we just ignore it and just go about our business?
As
Now-
you're sorry, go ahead.
For now, not sure what the Celestial Shield's issues with
Bless you.
legality are. I understand they're pretty widely known and respected. But just leave it be for now.
All right.
Gallet, make another perception check for me.
Man, my -1 is doing so well today. Perception. The wrong one. I clicked the
Oh.
wrong one. I look amazing while I do this.
Oh, unfortunate. I mean, I feel like it's kind of like an 18.
It's up for you. It's up to you.
I'll say so. The first roll is a 19. I'm just gonna add your -1 to that.
Okay.
Not fair? Okay, I feel like that's fair.
I'm fine.
Okay, so with that 18, you kind of look past Buru for a second, and you see down the hall. You can see all the way down to that locked door that the captain specifically told you not to enter. And you see that there is a very short, small figure, deftly picking the lock. But before she can get it open, the captain swoops in from the side, grabs her hand, and places a hand on her face, and immediately she collapses. But he catches her before she hits the ground. He puts her on his shoulder and then carries her into the brig.
I think as he was doing that, probably like I would have wanted to follow her out of the mess hall.
Cool, yeah.
To be
So you
like, hey,
watch this-
maybe you shouldn't. So I walk out and I look down the hallway and I see that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. So you kind of had your eye trained on her as you watch her leave the mess hall. And the captain, do you say anything as
No,
I think
I
that
just
this
I don't say anything because I think I would probably be about to like I open my mouth to say something and the captain like does his sleep thing and I'm like I'm not gonna say anything.
okay.
Just
Pretty
watch.
pretty soon, he doesn't linger in the brig for very long. You get the sense that he just tosses her in there, locks her up probably for attempting to break into that door, and then walks back out. He pauses and regards because you guys are in the hallway. You guys have like presumably maybe have seen this. He didn't pay attention to you beforehand, but and he looks up and he goes, "Shouldn't you all be at dinner or something?"
I hold up my dirty plate. Yeah, I was putting it away.
Right. Well, if you're feeling generous and want to make yourself useful, I would wash the dishes. We don't stand for dirty things here, like liars or traitors or plates. So, if you'd be a doll. And then he
Something you got
kind
a
of
lot on yours.
grimaces a little bit, and then he kind of goes down the hallway into his quarters. Alok and Ruby, what are we up to right now? You guys have finished your food. Are you guys just chilling in the mess hall? Are you trying to talk to anybody? What are you guys up to?
Probably just sitting there quiet, just taking everything in.
Okay.
Could practice sparring. I don't know.
You're sparring with whom? Are you gonna ask someone to spar with you?
Sure.
Okay. So that Minotaur man, he had been kind of left behind, because his halfling friend had left to try and break into that door. He's kind of like drumming his fingers against the table. His leg is shaking a little bit anxiously because she hasn't returned yet. And you walk up to him, and how do you ask him to spar? What do you say to him?
You look pretty strong. You want to see how strong?
He looks over at you. He's like, I mean, yeah, I'm pretty strong, but like, I've already won one arm wrestling match today in pretty spectacular fashion, so I don't think you know what you're getting into.
Right, I saw that with your friend's help, right?
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. And he kind of pushes himself away from his table, and he's like, you know what? I got a little bit of anxious energy. I've been trying to work it out. He slams his elbow on the table. He's like, "Go ahead."
I was thinking something a little bit more full body. How about above the deck?
Above the deck.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go. The two of you leave. Alok, you fully clock that this is occurring. Oh, you're muted as well.
Sorry, I'm gonna follow.
You're good.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna follow them. Okay. So, as this Minotaur man leads you, Ruby, out onto the deck, or you pass Dalit and Buru what's going on after you guys watch this this halfling get put to sleep by the captain?
I go back and start doing dishes.
Okay, Buru,
Definitely not doing my dishes. I'm going upstairs.
you're going above deck as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So you are there, and you watch as this Minotaur man, who introduces himself as Andros, and Ruby come out onto the deck. Alok kind of following behind them. Are you trying to be seen? Are you following stealthily, or are you just like
I'm just following
walking
them,
after them?
yeah.
You're just following them normally. Okay. So, you get up onto the deck. The wind is blowing very strongly. You sense that it's gotten a bit colder, and that something in the air has maybe changed a little bit. You're not sure what it is, but something feels different. However, Andros, he takes off his shirt, kind of slams his fist together, and he's like, "All right, do you know the rules?"
Rules? What rules?
Well, it's a pretty time-honored sailor's tradition, and we call it punch competition. Listen, sailors are not good at making up names for things. Please. Uh, we play. We take turns punching each other until one of us gets knocked out.
Can't use any spells? It's no fun.
Hey, you wanted to spar? It's physical combat. Is that not what you wanted? Are you not entertained?
I'm just saying, in a real world scenario, you would use anything at your disposal, right?
So you want to fight to the death right now? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, it's okay.
You come aboard
I
our
can-
ship and you're supposed to protect my life, right? Right? That was the contract. And now, instead of doing that, you have just indicated to me that you are going to use everything in your disposal to inflict harm upon my bodily being.
How many people are on this ship?
Like 40-ish.
Like 39 out of 40 is not bad for my first trip.
Okay, I mean, if you really want to fight this guy, you can fight this guy. I will not stop you from fighting this guy.
I just really wanted to use my spells before I slept, but that's okay. I'll just fight him like with my bare fists. That's fine.
Okay. Roll a d. Just do like one. Roll a d20 for me.
Just how do I do that?
Just slash roll and then 1d20.
1d20. Oops. Wait, why is that not working?
Don't put the period. Just put #r/r, and then d20.
Okay.
5. Okay.
Damn it.
So you guys kind of like you play like rock paper scissors, and he beats you out, so he's gonna go first. Make a Constitution saving throw for me. 18. Okay, so he throws the first punch, and you barely flinch, and he's surprised because he's like double your size. And he kind of like pulls his hand back, and it's like, not bad, not bad. Buru, you were just watching this happen, in Alok as well. I don't know if you're like encouraging this to be happening or just like passively watching.
Standing next to Alok, probably just
Yeah.
Okay, valid.
Just don't know what to do.
Okay, Ruby, roll. I guess make a strength check for me.
Oh wait, strength. Is that different from
Not
save
not the
or
save,
the
just
check?
the check.
Same modifier, but yeah.
Okay. Where is?
It should be on the left.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay, so you punch him, and similarly, he is also unfazed. This is kind of the theme. Like, you both like take turns, just like trying to be strong and being like, "Look how fucking hard I can hit. Look how fucking hard I can hit." But neither of you are like willing to budge. Um, Eventually, word gets around, and the sailors leave. They all leave the mess hall. Because they're like, "Holy shit! Andros and one of the Shield members are fucking having a fist fight up on the deck for honor. It's the best thing that ever happened. We gotta go watch this." Um, so everybody leaves the mess hall to watch your fight. They're kind of in a circle, just like cheering each side on. I want everybody. Suma, are you also up there, or are you gonna do something else? Like you watch as like people like filing out, and be like, "Oh my god, we gotta go check this out. We gotta go watch this."
Mhm. I think I won't go up there. I'm going to wash dishes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You go and you wash the dishes. Um uh as you do, you notice something is strange. So they don't have running water in the ship. It's basically they have like these jugs of water that they use to like wash things and to, like to pour out the drink as well. Um you notice that the water is slightly changing hue. It goes from clear to being slightly tinged with red. Um, as you are washing these dishes. Same consistency. It's still water. It's not
Mhm.
like transmuting into a different like substance. It still has the texture and the feel of water, but it is changing color slightly.
I
Don't drink it.
I'm wondering. I drink at all. No, I have a wondering. So I am proficient in Arcana, so I'm wondering if I would be able to uh see if I have any inkling as to like if this is harmless like magic like prestidigitation or like something equally cantrippy, or if it seems more sinister than that.
Yeah, roll an Arcana check for me. 12. Okay. 12.
Yeah, it's kind of middle
It's kind of it's a middle ground.
Yeah.
This is not normal. And
Oh,
you can
continue.
what?
I
Yeah.
have an idea.
Brain blast.
Okay.
I got
This
very
is
excited.
this is not normal. You have not seen this before, but you can tell just from looking at it that this was not caused by a weak spell. Perhaps not even a specific spell in general. You feel that there is much more powerful magical things at play here.
Mhm. Okay, that's good to know. I realized that the spell that I want to use, I don't have components for, so.
Okay.
But
Valid.
I'll have to buy that later. Okay. Good to know.
Everybody on the top, above deck. Oh, do. Um, Ruby and this Minotaur Andros are exchanging blows. Everybody's like yelling like fight, 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 and they're both like kind of just slugging away at each other. I want everybody above deck to also make a perception roll.
Also hide as the crowd comes up because I don't want to be seen by anyone.
Okay. Where do you hide? You just want to hide like behind some like
If
barrels?
there's like a
or,
barrel,
like,
yeah.
Okay, so you kind of like behind the corner and this like stack of crates and like a few barrels. You kind of stay behind there. Still maybe like an eye around. Okay. Okay. Is that everybody? Okay, and Gala, I think you're up there as well.
Nope, dishwashing crew.
Oh, you're also washing dishes.
Oh, do
Okay.
you see what does Gallet see what I see with the red water?
He also sees it.
Okay.
He also sees it as well. Sorry, I forgot
Um,
about that. My fault.
All good. Also, just as a little note, I have in my inventory. I bought a vial, so I'm gonna
Okay.
take a vial of this red water, and I'm just gonna tuck that away for later.
Cool.
Is this red water like
Um,
only in a barrel?
Pretty much everywhere around you where there is water is beginning to turn a little bit red.
Like even in cups?
Yeah, so like if some people have left like cups or mugs around and it was not filled with beer but like water, you can noticeably see it begin to turn red. Up on the deck, Ruby, you are too engrossed in the fight to notice anything. Buru as well. I think you're probably more like watching the fight, a little bit amused, or maybe you're looking up, watching Belair bend the wind up in the crow's nest. But Alok, as you hide behind these crates, you look up and you see in the distance, the clouds above you, like that are covering the stars, that are blanketing the sky. It is beginning to turn a little bit red, and it is slowly spreading across the sky.
I try to like think back to what that could be because I'm also a little good with Arcana.
You can make an Arcana check or a History check for me, either one.
Better with Arcana. Okay, well,
9.
red.
It's red. Definitely some kind of magical force at play here. Could not definitively say what it might be. Make a history check for me though as well.
Okay.
Yeah, never heard of
Yeah.
anything like this ever happening.
nice
You read a lot of books in your family's library, but perhaps none of the ones that would have detailed a phenomenon like this. Okay, what else? Ruby, make another strength check for me. 4.
Oh god.
Okay. Now make a con save for me. Okay, cool. Eventually Andros gets tired because he's been hitting you, but has not necessarily been like wearing you down. But he himself is getting a bit tired, and he looks at her and he's like, all right, can we just stop with this entire nonsense? He's like, look, you've proven your strength. You hit pretty hard. Not bad, kid. And he offers you his hand to shake.
Wow, giving up so easily?
Look, just call it a draw, right? We got other things to do. And you hear that the sailors running like booing, like boo. You're gonna give up, boo.
Hmm.
Do you take his hand? Do you shake his hand or no go?
I guess I only shake hands with people that I respect.
So you respect Melvin then. But not this guy.
Yeah, I do. Not this
Okay.
guy. Mm-mm.
Valid. This kind of angers him a bit, and you can tell he's about to go off. But then a sudden gust of wind kind of washes over the deck, and all of you who are on top there, you feel it, and you shiver a little bit. Valere takes a rope down, and she yells at everybody to immediately get below deck. She like points at all the and all the sailors like kind of like you can tell that they respect her. Maybe they don't like her very much, but they can tell if she is like anxious about something. They probably want to listen. She says, "Everybody, get below deck right now." And she looks at you, Ruby, and she says, "Including you, go." Turns to you, Buru. You as well. Get below deck and call the. If you see the captain, can you tell him to come up here? She does not see you, Alok, so she doesn't know that you're up here.
But I can help.
She gazes up at the sky, which is now taken on a darker tinge of red. It's like it hasn't like reached you yet. It's still off in the distance, but she says, "To be honest with you, I doubt that." What do you say to her?
I guess we'll find out. I only have to listen to the captain. He didn't say anything about you.
True. Buru, what do you do?
Go downstairs and try to find the captain.
Okay. Alok, you are hidden.
Staying there. Yeah, I'm just watching.
You're staying put. Excellent. Okay. Buru, you head down. Suma and Galit, you like can hear the commotion of like sailors filing in through the hall because there's a lot of people moving at the same time. You can hear that there's a ruckus happening outside of the kitchen, like beyond the walls of the mess hall.
Gallant's getting a really bad feeling about this, so he's gonna hold up his ring hand, and he's gonna just say, "Give me strength," and cast False Life on himself.
Okay.
Just smoke starts pouring out of the ring and sort of wafting into his chest.
Got it. That's is it 6 temporary HP?
Yeah.
Got it. Cool. You do that. Suma, what are you up to?
I'd probably go find some of the people who are filing in below deck and just ask, friends, what is happening out there?
You get kind of like a chorus of like, look, I don't know. Valera said to get below deck, and look, if she's freaking out about something, I'm gonna freak out too. Okay, because that is not normal. She is normally very even keel. Doesn't really freak out much. So Captain. And he's kind of like roaming around. Buru, you come down and you meet up with Suma, who's also in the hallway. And you were looking for Aramis, correct?
Yes, sir.
Cool. You notice that the sailors are coming down the way to ostensibly where his quarters are, but they don't seem to find him.
I'll take a look.
Okay. Do you go in the direction of where everybody else is looking, or is there any other?
No, I don't really know the ship that well, I feel like at this point, so I pretty much go where everyone else is not going.
Okay. So you notice that everybody's going towards like where the living quarters are for these sailors, but you take a different turn and you go to the brig. Because it's kind of like in the opposite direction, where nobody else is looking. You don't think anybody even thinks there's anybody in there. Because Aramis has kept a tight lip about having a stowaway, and nobody else but you guys saw that that halfling was put under and locked up inside. So you go inside and you find Aramis there, and the halfling is still asleep, but he is talking to this old man. What do you say to him?
Captain, it seems there's a situation above deck. Valera requested your presence.
What? He whips around and he's like, he looks back down at the old man. He's like, I will deal with you later. And he looks over at the halfling as well, just to make sure that she's still asleep. And he says, what seems to be the issue?
I'll hold up my vial of red water and just be like, does this ring any bells?
You see that he pales a little bit. Whatever water turning red symbolizes, he knows what it means. And he takes it in his hands, and his hands shake a little bit, and he presses it back into your hand, and he like pushes past you to get above deck. You are now alone in the brig. Brutal, you joined her, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Gallet, are you still hanging out, washing dishes, or have you moved from that spot since? Have you joined them as well?
When the water becomes blood, I do have questions. I would like I asked
Okay.
the chef quickly, like, "Hey, has this ever happened before?"
He says, I mean, not my time. I mean, I've never seen anything like that happen. He dips his finger into it, and he takes it out, and he's like, it burns a little bit. Not super painful, but it's almost like, yeah, acidic, exactly.
That's
Um,
And one more question, sir, before I go. I'm sort of the one that has to protect the ship. Um, that halfling, how long has she been with the crew?
halfling.
Halfling girl?
Oh, Suzanne. Oh,
Suzanne?
I mean, she's been with the crew for a while. Damn near 6 years now, I think.
Ooh, man, going to the brig must hurt.
She's in the brig?
Oh yeah, she was put in the brig.
What for?
Aramis just made her go to sleep when she was just walking around. It looks maybe she was trying to go somewhere she wasn't supposed to go, but going to the brig for anything like that's a bit harsh for a member of 5 years.
He was like holding the meat cleaver still, and he like slams it on the counter. And he stiffens, and he doesn't say anything for a while. He says, if the captain says she belongs down there, then she must have done something to deserve it.
You have a lot of belief in your captain.
I owe him a debt.
Seems like a lot of people on this ship owe him a debt.
He laughs at that.
Is that the only place he gets his loyalty from?
Pretty much. Hit the nail on the head. Everybody on the ship owes the captain in one way or another, and it's the reason why we're here.
I hope that works out for you. Remember, you don't have to follow someone that could ultimately lead you to your doom. Mutinies aren't good, but there's a reason why historically they've happened.
You see his face fall a little bit, and he says, the captain lifted me out of a place worse than hell. And if I go down with the ship, with his ship, no matter how bad the death is, no matter how slow, no matter how painful, it will have been worth it to die under his command.
That seems like you have more loyalty than from just a debt.
Some debts are bigger than others. And with that, he turns away from you.
I would go join the group.
Okay. You go over and join. As you do, you meet Aramis as he's like dashing up to be above deck, and he like bumps into you and does not say sorry. You come in and you see Buru and Suma, who are like still standing by the brig.
So what's going on? I was doing dishes.
Not entirely sure. The captain went above deck to deal with whatever this is. And I'll just turn back to the people in the brig and look at them, like, studying them.
You hold down this area. I'm gonna follow the captain.
Okay.
I'm gonna head up with Gallet.
The old man looks up at you, Suma, and he winks. And he lifts up his manacles, and like kind of waves his hand over it, and they unlock. But he remains. He kind of like he like unlocks himself and like puts like a finger to his lips, like shh, like don't tell anybody. This is a secret. don't even know, but I'm not actually locked up here. Do you say anything to him?
Yeah, I do. I think out loud, like speaking, I'll just say to him something sort of gruff and like, don't make any smart moves or something. I don't know. But then I'll send him a message, an arcane message in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say, what's your story?
He responds not in his mind, but with his voice. And he says, I'm just, how do you say, an interested party. That's all.
Interested in what?
Well, and he's like gesticulating with these hands that are now very clearly not shackled, like as if he's forgotten his whole ruse to begin with. He's like, there's been certain things happening that I haven't had the chance to fully investigate, and this struck me as the easiest way to do it. But you should run along and see what's going on. That should be fun, right?
Doesn't sound very fun, but I will run along, and I hope we understand each other that I didn't see you break out of the manacles.
Oh, of course not. I mean, I'm still very much locked up, he says to no one of you in particular. You would join them?
I would like to, right before I go, I'll try to wake up the halfling and see if I just like sort of shake her shoulder and like pat her cheek a little bit, does she wake up at all?
Yes. So you nudge her gently and her eyes like flutter open a little bit and she says, Captain?
Not quite.
And she blinks and she like struggles to push herself up and she's like, and then she realizes that she's shackled. It's like immediately like, jolts her away. She like struggles against her shackles and says, Captain, I'm like so sorry. Like I didn't mean it.
The captain isn't here.
And then she finally registers your face and she's like, oh. So he's leaving me here.
Does that mean something to you? Besides the usual, what being locked up in a brig means?
No. I didn't mean to let him down. I didn't mean to. I was just curious. I mean, what's being transported? What's in the storeroom? I just wanted to know. I'm curious. I wouldn't have told anybody.
I'll look over at the old man. Is that what you're curious about?
He shrugs and he says, I'm curious about a lot of things.
I'm going to leave the room now, I say to them out loud.
Okay. So you ascend and you come up. Buru and Gallet, you are following the captain above deck. Ruby, Alok, you are already above deck. And the captain runs up and he looks out to the sky. And you see that he's immediately shaken. He runs over to Valere, who's still standing next to you, Ruby, and almost as if like you're not there, he says, "So it's really back. It's returned." And Valere like kind of looks at him and she says, "We should leave." And you guys can hear this fully. Like they're talking over the sound of the howling wind at the moment.
May I ask what's back?
Aramis takes off his hat. And he kind of like holds it to his side. And you see that he's both like, he's smiling, but like half out of fear. in half out of excitement, and he says, "The Red Wraith." And Gallet, you feel your ring on your finger tighten a little bit,
Oh no.
as if it is responding to that name. Whatever that is, the genie in your ring recognizes that name. Actually, Gallet, yeah, roll me a history check with advantage. Since you are a sailor, you may have heard legends of this thing.
18.
Ooh, got it. So, you've been around sailors for a good amount of your life. You have heard tales that there is this spectral pirate captain called the Red Wraith, who is rumored to be this like weird magical being that just shows up now and then. And every time he shows up, there is a storm, and every time he shows up, ships are wiped from existence. Not a lot of stuff. It brings the question of like, how do people tell stories? Like, dead men tell no tales, but live men do. And if the story is that everyone dies, who's telling these stories? Either way, it is kind of like an urban legend. You have heard tales that every now and then this thing will resurface, and when it does, it takes ships and it takes lives. And for whatever reason, the captain believes that it has returned. Suma, you have now also reached the deck.
Do I see Alok? Is he still
Alok,
stealth?
are you trying to remain in stealth right now, or are you
Yeah.
like poking your head out? I guess do a stealth versus perception contest if you really, you know what I mean.
No, I don't. I'm not gonna be like, huh.
You don't immediately see him. You don't immediately see him.
I mean, I'm peeking out, but I'm still trying to stay hidden.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Make a perception check then to see if you see him. You do not see him at all.
It's Alok. Oh, well.
As you all stand on the deck, you see that the sky gets darker and darker overhead. It gets redder and redder, and it begins to rain hard, and the rain is red. Suma, if you were still holding the vial from earlier, that water has turned a much darker shade than it was before. In the distance, you see like breaking out of the waves this, like, first you see like a little bit of white, and you can't really tell what it is, but then you realize it is the top of a giant mast and these sails. This ship rises up out of this water, which is turned red, and as it does, a sea of red mist wafts over the waves, and it begins to encircle the Slim Reaper and roll onto the deck. The captain and Valere, you can see them walking slowly backwards.
Now, Larry, can you start making the ship move quicker? Just a bit. Now's not the time to walk away. We're on the sea.
She says, I don't think there's much outrunning that thing. And she looks over at the captain and she fully books it. They both like run onto the opposite end of the ship, and you can see them like heading towards like a pair of lifeboats.
Crap.
Wait a second, they're leaving?
All
They're
right.
leaving their entire crew behind,
Well-
and they're going on the lifeboats.
That's no good. Okay,
I'm-
well,
Maybe this is stupid, but I am going to shoot a firebolt at their feet, not at them, but it's just gonna like hit the ground in front of them. And I'm gonna say, where do you think you're going to go? On a lifeboat, do you think you're going to fare any better?
You successfully do so, Suma. You raise up your hand, bolt of fire, like zips out of your hand, strikes a bit of the ship in front of them, and they are halted in on their tracks. The wood catches fire slightly, but is almost immediately put out with a combination of a gust of wind from Valaire's hands as well as the pouring rain. And she turns around, her hair soaking wet, and hisses at you. She says, "That thing takes ships and swallows them whole. It will not notice us if we do not have sails." Um, and Aramis kind of like steps in front of her, and he says, "Regrettably, I cannot continue captaining the ship. In fact, I give it to you. Good luck." And he continues to try and make it a step. They're like working on the ropes. As the ship, the red ship in the distance draws nearer.
Do I see the life raft?
You do. You can see that they're like working on
Is there
pulling it
only
up so
one?
they can. Um, there's another one. There's only two
But not
on this
enough
entire
for
ship.
like the whole crew and whatnot.
Definitely not enough for the entire crew.
I'm going to raise my ring, and I'm going to Eldritch Blast the boat, like the little skiff they're working on. I'm just
The
gonna
one they're working on?
Yeah, I'm going for like a hole in the bottom.
Ooh, okay. So okay, you raise up your hand, you cast Eldritch Blast, and seeing that it is coming, Aramis just takes the blow. You send him reeling backwards, and you seem to have roll for damage actually.
Let's see. It hit, yeah, and 8 damage.
8 damage. Okay. And you push him back, right? Doesn't it like push him back?
No. That requires a specific thing I don't have.
Okay. You hit him. He kind of like rubs at his back at the smoldering, the bit of smoke coming out of his tunic, and he
Aramis,
gl-
a captain
yes.
goes down with his ship. All your crew members might owe you a debt, but they do respect you, and they would go down with your ship. And I expect the same from you. Either you go on that life raft and I continue firing and you go down like a coward, or you fight to see if you can save everyone and become a hero to them in more ways than one.
He like enraged by the speech, he walks away from the boat and he like storms up to you. He says, "Kid, do you have any idea how long I've been doing this? There are things that you cannot fuck with, and that is one of them." And he points at the ship, and he says, "A captain goes down with his ship, right? But as I said, this is not my ship anymore. You have successfully delayed him. However, the combination of Suma casting his firebolt and you casting Eldritch Blast has sufficiently delayed them enough that they are on board for the next thing that happens." As you all stand on the deck of the ship, a few things happen simultaneously. A large red wave rocks the boat. Can I have everyone make a dexterity saving throw? I'll roll for those two as well. Cool.
Saving throw. All right.
Okay. Ruby and Gallet, the ship suddenly lurches, and you are tossed a little bit off balance. Gallet, I think you're focused on how enraged you are at Aramis, willing to sacrifice his crew just to make some paltry escape. And Ruby, you have sustained a little bit of a beating at the hands of Andros, and so maybe your footing is not as steady as it was. You both kind of like stumble and fall prone to the ground. Suma, Alok, and Buru, you remain standing. So when the old man locked up in the brig arrives on the deck, you see him. You see him come, and you watch as he snaps his fingers, and this veil, this shimmering veil, like disappears from off of him, and you see Gawain Redshield, the man who gave you this quest, standing on deck.
Captain Gwaine, nice to see you.
He says, "I think you guys ought to get below the deck."
Sir.
What's happening?
I don't trust him. Ah.
I'm just so confused, and I'm wet, and I'm on the ground.
Everybody, actually, no, no perception check needed. You hear a scritching and a scratching multiplied dozenfold on the side of the ship. And as you stand there, as Captain Gawain reveals himself as having snuck onto the ship for whatever reason, Suma, you remember that he said he was curious about something. So, well, I wonder what he was curious about. He's standing on deck, and as he does, you hear the scratching get louder and louder, and you see on the railing skeletal fingertips start boarding the ship.
Sounds
Gawain?
like battle time to me.
Gawain has and this is a lot. It's like a ton of skeletons. A lot of stuff of them are coming on board, and Gawain looks around and he says, "I'm sorry for the deception, but I had to see for myself what was killing our newbies. There was one group that went down with the ship. No bodies were sent, but the entire ship vanished. And it was the ship of a very renowned captain, one that wouldn't have fallen prey to any kind of storm. I had a feeling that that storm might have been magically induced. And so I wanted to come see what it was." And he looks up as the ship is like drawing much nearer now. He says, "I don't think that this is something the five of you should be around for. I would hit the deck."
I run. I'm out. Mm-mm.
Okay. You run. Everybody hears this. I don't think he's clocked you yet, Alok. You're still behind the crates. And you successfully like held your ground and didn't fall down earlier. Who is going to trust him and go down below? Who is doing otherwise?
I'm standing my ground. I'm staying here.
Yeah, I'd like to stay up top too.
Do I hear like the skeletal hands near me scratching?
Yeah, they're like surrounding the ship. There's a lot of them. A
Am I near the edge of the ship? Or
good
am
amount.
Am I towards the center?
You're kind of like back against, closer to where like the mast is in the center, behind like a bunch of like crates and stuff. So you're not like close to where they're arriving.
Yeah, I'll stay where I am.
Okay, cool. Gallet, you are dipping.
I'm out. Yeah.
You're out. Suma, what are you up to?
I'm going to post myself near the like entrance to the below decks, but I'm gonna stay at the door on top.
Okay. Gawain turns to you, Suma, and he specifically says, "You seem to be, to me, to be the oldest and the wisest of your group. I got the sense of that during your interviews. I know that you've seen and felt loss. You can read it in your face. If you do
Don't
not
make
want
eye
to lose your friends, get them below the ship."
Can I try to read him
Sure. Roll an
to
insight check.
see what I think?
18. He means it. He thinks that
Okay.
whatever is going to come at this moment is not something that the lot of you would be able to stand up against, at least not for very long.
Good to know. Given that, I will go below, and if there's anyone like in my arm's reach, I'll try to usher them along with me. But otherwise, I just
I would
go.
say you're probably still near Buru and Ruby, but Alok is kind of off in the distance.
I'll just give them a look like I trust him, and I know at this point that there are things in this world that are beyond me, and so I'm going to go.
Do you heed her words?
I am not so wise or wizened. I'll probably still just stay there, just stand.
Okay, Ruby.
Yeah, it just goes against my instinct to run away, so I want to stay.
Okay, Alok. You could probably hear him.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do I get the feeling like so you said I'm like towards the middle of the mast, I'm kind of off to the side, or like
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna stay. I don't think they're gonna randomly walk over here. So yeah.
Okay, got it. So, Suma, you have not been successful in convincing any of your partners to come with you below deck, but you do go down, and Gallet and Suma, as you get below deck, you get the sense that you notice that it's very quiet.
Mhm.
A lot quieter than it should be for a ship full of drunken sailors who have just been hit by a big wave. As you walk down the halls, you notice that some of
Stealthily.
these. What?
I'm stealthily now. I'm
Okay.
staying.
Okay. You notice that a lot of you come down the hallway and you see bodies on the floor.
Oh, that's fun. Can I look to see if they, have a pulse or anything?
Yeah. Roll a medicine check.
May I assist her in
Eh.
medicine checking?
Sure. You can just like pick another person, to help as well.
Sure. What would that give me advantage or?
Sure. Yeah. Let's say you guys are both checking people out, and like you're kind of pooling your resources together. So, roll with advantage. 18. Okay. These people are alive. They're breathing.
Okay.
No obvious injuries to their body. It seems like they're knocked out by something, and you can tell this is not a magically induced sleep, perhaps, that Aramis was using on the halfling and the old man who turned out to be Gawain. This is some kind of they've been knocked out, but not with blunt force.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems that everybody who was below deck has been afflicted by this.
I'll try to send a message to the halfling and just see if she's awake.
No,
Nothing.
no life.
Okay.
All right, Suma. Well, you should focus on trying to see if you can wake anyone up. I'm going to see if I can check the area we weren't supposed to go to, just to be safe.
Good idea.
I'll run to the chains, and once I get there, I'll bring out my lock picks and try to.
Cool. Okay. Roll for your thieves' tools or your sleight of hand. 22. Jesus. Okay.
Nice.
So, despite the fact that your hands are probably shaking at this point from all the stuff that's been going down, you successfully unlock the lock. The chains slide open, and you push open doors to the storeroom. And while it is dim, there are a couple of candles that have remained lit, and you see like along the walls and stuff, there are these chests, and they've been chained up, and they're and in the far end, you see just a mess of broken glass and red water, and in the center is weirdly enough a frog. It's like a frog floating, encased in a red bubble.
Nope. And I close the door.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I'll run to Suma to tell her what's in there.
Okay.
I don't want to mess with that myself.
Cool. Okay. So, you run over and you tell Suma, everybody else,
Bubble
deck.
frog.
Skeletons have begun to pile onto the deck. The three of you roll for initiative.
Why is there a .16?
Oh, I think there's like
It's the tiebreaker.
Oh, okay.
I think you can click on your but you can just add, I guess. Okay, just for. Okay, let me roll as well. All right. Okay. So, by the way,
Oh.
add a character. Last week we I think we kind of like called it a night at 11. Around what time do we want to stop? Like, do we want to continue on with the combat and see what happens? Or want to skip that for next session?
I think 11 is a good time for me, generally.
Okay. So we can
Me too.
call it a night for now and save the combat for next.
What's on this boat?
That's super cool and bad.
Why is a frog in a bubble? Why is the captain here? What is up with Aramis? That scuzz bucket. Don't like him.
He is a
We are definitely in the middle of a storm. I don't know what's going to happen next time.
Do you think that
Yeah.
Bubble Frog could be the cause of all this? We mentioned monsters are contraband.
Yeah, that is
Mhm.
true. That is very true. But also, it's hard for me to place a red wraith with bubble frog. Like those.
But it was a red bubble.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
It could just be
every
water that turned
yeah.
red.
Oh, that's true.
It
Well,
could have just
yeah.
been a bubble frog.
That's true.
Just a random bubble frog.
That's true. I admit,
Not the bubble.
yes.
Yeah, I will say that you did notice that as you walked in, that it was surrounded by glass shards.
Mhm.
So whatever this frog is, actually, I guess roll nature.
Oh, sweet.
While we've got you to
I
see
got
if you know
nature.
what this thing is.
16.
Got nature.
16. Okay. You recognize this thing. Maybe you see it very briefly, and it looks all wrong to you. But the sight of a frog that is levitating up off of the ground in a bubble pretty much can only indicate to you one thing. And you don't really believe your eyes at first. It probably takes you a while to piece together what it is that you just saw. But this must be a very young, like almost like a baby emperor frog. And emperor frogs are in the lore of this world. Like there's usually one on each island region, in most of the island regions, and they're a species of like telepathic frogs with very powerful psionic powers.
Okay.
Cool.
They're almost like they're like a little bit below a minor deity.
That
And this
changes
is a
my
very
next actions. Okay.
That does change things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
and this is like a very but this is it seems
Wait,
to be a very young one.
Question. Are they historically known to be douches? Like, are they historically known to be attacking people? Or is
No,
it like a
never.
talk-by-talk basis?
They're more like they live in swamps, and usually people will like build their villages near them. Some tribes will like worship them. Some of them will just be like, "Hey, don't go in that swamp. There's some weird shit going on in that swamp." But in general, they have a very strong communion with nature and other animals. And they're generally very peaceful. They don't hurt people. In fact, they'll do them favors sometimes, like have conversations with them telepathically. But in general, they mind their own business. But they will go after you if you hurt other animals.
All right, that's good. Okay, so like after I saw that, close the door, went to her, and I was like, frog. I know what that is. And okay, then we.
Cool.
Wait, do humans count as animals? So like if this red wraith was to hurt us,
No,
would it
very
be protective?
specifically like magical creatures and like things that scurry about. I would say you are able to conclude at this point that this, along with probably other animals, are what's being smuggled here.
Maybe the red wraith just doesn't like animal smugglers, man.
Yeah, he might be like a hero. We don't know.
Could be.
Groups.
Yeah.
We don't know them.
Or like
might
PETA.
have
Let's join his side.
Look, all I'm saying is like red's a good color. He brings the
Wow.
storm each time, and he's successful.
Okay.
And I doubt the captain does this weird stuff where he pretends to be an old hermit and gets on boats. So might be a better manager.
Mm-hmm.
The ship did also come out of the water. I don't know if I want to.
Oh, it came out of the water. Oh, that is.
Isn't it right?
Yeah, like it rose
Yeah.
out of the water.
Well,
Yeah, that doesn't
I mean,
sound
blanket of
comfortable.
It might be
so.
a bubble type scenario. We don't know.
Sure,
We'll
sure.
have to. You know what? We'll call for parlay. He'll stop, and we'll talk it out. Whew.
We'll
Alright,
see
guys,
if he's amenable to conversation.
You know what? We haven't even tried talking to the skeletons. Is all I'll say.
That's true.
We haven't.
They could be very nice. They could just be asking for a ride.
Yeah, they might be.
They
asking
could just
for
be asking for some
directions.
beans.
Or beans too. Like, look, I'm just saying. Like, skeletons get lonely.
They do.
They need to talk to people.